Hi, everybody. I have a very special guest. And so I'm going to throw it to you and have you introduce yourself. Go ahead.
Hi, my name is Carley Robertson. I am the volleyball coach at DeWitt High School, and we have been working with Tree for a couple of years now, so I'm really excited for this conversation today.
Yeah. And you're just outside of Lansing, Michigan. So a
Yes.
couple hours from me. And okay, so the first year that we did anything together, I went and did a 1 day culture camp, essentially. We didn't do any on-court stuff with your whole volleyball program. We did this 1 day event. It's the only offering I'm having right now for teams. And that, as we talked about right before we started recording, this is the first time in 32 years I'm not gonna hit one volleyball, at least in a camp setting. I might hit a volleyball, but we all know I'm not the best volleyballer in the world as a player, but because I want to turn my full-time attention to culture. So I want people to understand what this 1 day looks like. And so yours was, it was the first time I did it like this. And it was a really magical day for me as well. Like there's stuff that came out of that room. There was some magic happening. You have talked to me before about how it really did like help you all. Like it really did make a change for you all. How can that happen from a 1 day experience?
Well, I think for us, when I decided that I really wanted to bring you in and really wanted to work with you, we had kind of hit an all-time low from a culture perspective, just in my experience at that specific place. And I was like, I feel really out of my depth in what I can do, what I can change. And so we wanted to really make an improvement. And so we decided to have you come in. I feel like at the beginning of that day, and I think you'll remember this as well, everyone was very, very, very guarded. Like in the beginning, when we do the Greatest Showman video, and you talk about how she starts behind the stand and everybody's kind of arms crossed and very, inside themselves, the entire room looked like that. And myself included, I was very nervous, unsure of how things were going to go, unsure of how, the kids were going to receive it, if they were going to engage. And over the course of the day, to see that kind of change, to see them come out from behind the stand, so to speak, and really lean into what you were doing. By the time we got to the skits, we were all having the time of our lives. So I think just leaning into the vulnerability of what it takes to make something better really changed a lot for us, if that makes sense. So, yeah, yes, it was 1 day, but I feel like just from the beginning to the end, there was so much growth and so much change in all of us in the room.
It was fun. I do remember that. I do remember that very much. Um, what and talk about the carryover because okay, just so people know, like what happens is usually it's like 2.5 hours, and then there's a working lunch, and it's formally titled the Jeffersonian Dinner, but I've kind of altered that name a little bit to the Founders Dinner. And basically, it's based on something that Thomas Jefferson did as he was founding our country. And so we have a lunch where we do some purposeful hot prong connection stuff, and then we return to the room. And so it is just that 1 day, but that's generally it's like 2.5 hours, hour, 2.5 hours. And it's your whole program. You had about, if I remember, almost 50, there was probably around 50 student athletes in that room, ninth through 12th grade, upcoming ninth through 12th grade. Is that about right?
We had about, yeah, because that at that point we had made our team, so we had 36.
Oh,
And then our coaches, obviously.
okay. So a little bit. Your season had already started. I forgot that. Um, so but talk about the carryover effect. So you saw that guard come down, and truly, like by the end of the day it was a blast, and we were like, y'all, like calm down. Like it was like raining squirrels in, right? um Talk about the carryover though. Like what did the day after that feel like, and what did the week after, how did that carry over? How did you keep it alive?
I think even after lunch, they started to realize that we, like you specifically, as well as our coaching staff, wanted to hear what they had to say. And once they realized that they weren't in trouble, they weren't being like judged or critiqued for what they were saying or how they were saying it, like then they felt a lot more comfortable to say what they thought, say what they felt. And in the afternoon and then throughout, the next couple of weeks and stuff like that, we really tried to be intentional about the conversations that we were having. And I'm someone who can just talk. I'm someone who can just talk. I can talk to fill a silence. I can talk just to hear myself
Same,
think.
same.
Like, exactly. And so I was like, I have to be really conscious about the fact that I'm not trying to dictate this conversation. I'm not trying to tell you how you feel. I'm not trying to tell you what you think. I'm only going to get better if I hear what you have to say and what you actually are thinking and feeling as like my team. And so that's kind of something that I've heard over the last 2 years since we did that first one day was, oh no, they actually want to hear what we have to say. They actually are asking questions because they want to know the answer, not because they want to hear the answer that they think they should hear. And we started doing these like off-season check-ins with our varsity returners and anyone who really wanted to be part of it. And it was required for our varsity returners. They had to meet with me, but everybody else, if they wanted to, they could. And I think that really opened the door too, was like we're having they're semi-formal conversations, but we started with them being 20 minutes and that they took an hour because they would just talk and talk and talk. And I was like, that to me is the biggest change, is just their willingness to let their guard down and communicate and share how they feel. So I think having that experience in the morning where, you were telling them, we want to hear what you think. Like, we understand why we got to where we got to and why things need to change. And it only changes if you guys kind of do the work too. And they started to believe that that was possible. And ever since then, I think obviously there's a lot of things that happen along the way that keep that momentum going. But literally from the morning of that first day to the afternoon and beyond, I feel like was just a huge change for us.
That's really fulfilling for me to hear. So thank you for that. Because that's really what, like, honestly, that absolutely drives me. Um, and the thing that I am hearing as you're saying this is, and just for anybody who hasn't experienced or done culture work with this work that I've been creating over the past decade, those things, I think that what you're describing is they felt really truly seen, right? And I say all the time, I have this slide that says, like, when we don't feel seen, we feel judged.
Mhm.
And that is a wall, it's a barrier, it's an empathy blocker, and it really robs us of our ability to lead, especially in this generation, especially females of this generation, but it's true of males too. And so one of the things that I'm constantly trying to communicate with coaches is that we have to do a better job, not just of hearing them, but of proving to them that we're hearing them. And I'm adding this as of recent, very recently, we have to give them explicit permission over and over and over again to speak up and to speak truth, even when it might be uncomfortable for them to say it to us because they don't have the same number of repetitions that they once did. Right. And
Ugh, that phone.
right. And that's what I just like, and that it changes everything. Because then, and people think, well, I don't want to waste time on this. It's not a waste, because I would imagine that you were able to get through to them a heck of a lot faster because you were hearing them and they were feeling
Yeah.
seen.
I think it also helped me understand how to show up for them in the ways that mattered to them
Mm,
and not just the way that, coaches are supposed to be or the way they're supposed to act, or like, I'm only here for you from 3 to 5 p.m. and then I'm checked out. Like, I think that really made a difference in just how, like, what do they value? They're so different from us, like in certain ways, and different from the way we were when we played sports and what we needed from our coaches. And so going in with kind of like less assumptions of what they need and what they think, and really being curious enough to ask and genuinely care about what they say and then do something with that and not just say, "Oh yeah, thanks for telling me that," and then piecing out and doing the same thing you're doing all the time. That's not okay. So, and also I think we learned a lot of how to like walk the line of, you're giving me such great information and such great feedback. Can I implement all of it? Probably not, but I can try to do the best that I can with the best intentions with what you're telling me. And I think building that connection really made a difference too. So, yeah, just the curiosity, I think, is the biggest thing. Was I've always been curious about like the X's and O's and the coaching and the drills and all that good stuff, but really being curious about the connection and how to build it and how to maintain it and how to work through conflict. My least favorite thing in the world, but how to work through conflict made like the biggest difference.
That's amazing. I love this so much. Okay. I'm so glad we did this. Like, I'm so geeked about it. Not just mostly I wanted people to have an idea, like, what are you going to do in one day? Like, how is this possible? So I'm like, well, let's just go to the first time I did this. You were the first time I did it. I think, I mean, I've done like one-offs and stuff with different teams, but like the first day that I was like, nope, we're just going to do this 1 day culture camp. And then now I'm like, well, this is what we're going to do. We're going to have so many days and we have a few slots left. And so, um, and it's valuable for me to know, like, okay, this was a really an important thing that stood out for them. But before we go, let's talk about everybody's favorite subject, playing time. Because it was in that room that I got super clear about how to say it. And it was your players who got us there. I mean, it was literally, and it was oh my gosh, what is her name? I love this kid. Does she still, I think she plays basketball maybe at Grand Valley?
Oh yes, Maddie Yule. She plays
Yes.
basketball at Grand Valley.
I spent 1 day with this kid because she was a rising senior that year.
Mhm.
And I was like, I don't know who that kid is, but she's awesome. Like, I adore her from that 1 day we had together. If I need to go down to a Grand Valley game just to watch her. Like, that's how big
She'd
of a
be
fan.
so excited.
I see thousands of athletes every year, and she stands out in my mind. So let her know the next time you talk to her.
You got it.
And I think it was her like eagerly responding to this question. So what I did, let's set the scene. Toward the end of the day, we were all cracked wide open, and you had prompted me with, we really need to talk about playing time. And I was like, all right, how am I going to do this? And so I set the team up. I said, get into groups of 3, just people you're sitting by. We've done it all day. And I want you to talk about, if you were the coach, how you would determine playing time. Do you remember what they came back in that first round with? If not, it's okay.
I can't remember if it was the first. I know how we kind of got to where we got to, but I can't remember if it was the first round or not. But it was like the best players should, like, it was kind of like what you would expect, like the best players should play. And
No, it wasn't at first. It
wait,
wasn't. It was
what
like
was it?
showing up on time,
Oh
working
gosh, yeah.
hard, all the things, right? All the things that they could control and that we talk about when we talk about culture, right?
Mhm.
And I think this is a really broad misunderstanding. And I said, well, what if only, the nuggets, for lack
Mhm.
of a better, the littles on the volleyball team, what if only the littles did those things well? Are we all just across the board going to play the littles against, your biggest rival? And they were like, no. And I'm like, well, then you don't have it. And so I'm like, go back to the drawing board. And then they're like, yeah, remember? Like, that was the first, I was like,
Yeah.
but that's,
Because it was like they knew that they wanted to say, like, if you work really hard and you
yep,
try really hard,
yes.
then you should play. And you were like, "Mm, let's try this again."
I think what I first said was, and it might have been even Maddie was, I don't, she, was saying things and whatever. And it was a setup. I mean, we're talking about culture all day. So it was totally a setup, kind of. But I said, are there scoreboards at all of your games? And they were like, yeah. I'm like, do they turn the scoreboards on? Does the electricity work to those scoreboards? And they were like, yes. What are you talking about? I'm like, then I mean, we often don't say this out loud, but it's okay to say we want to try to win the game. Like the scoreboard is on. We are trying to win. That's okay. Like that's the whole point of it, y'all. Like, what are we doing here? And so we went back to and then eventually we got to the place where I just remember this moment. I'll never forget it. And I said, listen, you're talking about it like it's a reward for coming to practice. And it's not. Playing time is never a reward. And that's the first time I ever said that. And I think, and along that line, I always, when I'm working with coaches, is I flip it and I say, if it's not a reward, it should not be a direct punishment. It doesn't mean that if somebody's not doing what they need to do as a teammate or coming to practice or whatever, that they're not going to play as much. But it's not like, it's not quid pro quo. It's no, no, no. You don't have the trust of the team. You can't be on the floor. Or, and sometimes, and this is the real truth. And I think I said it in that room, and there was like a moment where everybody kind of really got together on it. Is you might do everything right in the world. You might work all the things. I could do everything right. And I'm never going to start in front of the middle blocker. I'm 5'2", y'all. Like, and so you might do everything right and still not get the position or the playing time that you want. And while it's hard, that's life. You can do everything right in life and you still might. And just being honest about that expectation going into season, I think that room helped me clear it up for a lot of other people. I want to know how that went for you all following that conversation, because it was a magical conversation.
I think it's still like it's one of our biggest challenges, I would say, because I just feel like it's so much of their like value, their perceived value is what they can do on the court. And it's not going to just change overnight.
Right.
And just in sports in general, it's just something that is part of playing the game. You want to be on the court. Like obviously everybody wants to be on the court. But I think it made it a lot easier for us to have conversations about it instead of it being this like taboo thing that nobody ever talks about, or everybody just kind of like looks at each other when the starting lineup is announced or whatever. And so I think that common understanding of how the decision gets made or why the decision gets made for certain people in certain positions for a certain amount of time made a big difference of just a baseline, like everybody has that same baseline instead of being like, well, the coach really likes them and so they're on the court. And I'm sure people still feel that way at times. It just is what it is.
Yep.
But I think being super upfront about it in the beginning makes it easier to navigate the things that happen down the line. And I know we had one conversation that year, the year that we did the one day, and we just got really, really clear with one position group. And we were like, there are three of you, there are two positions. Whoever is doing the best in the moment, whoever is the right person in the right place at the right time, is the person that's going to go. And if you're not that person, you better be supporting the heck out of everybody else. That's your role. When your role is not to be that person that's on the court, you still have a huge role and a huge value that you can bring to the team. And you have to excel at your role no matter what it is. That's the whole point of being part of the team, is knowing the role that you're in at the moment and excelling at it. Whether you're a starter, whether you're coming off the bench to
Yep.
change the game, whether you're staying on the bench to support the team. Those are kind of the three categories I would say that you've kind of fall into at any given point in your career. And like when I was playing sports, I was in all three of those positions at different times. And if I wasn't doing my job, what was I adding to the team? What was I getting out of being on the team? So I think that kind of helped us set those like clear boundaries, but they're kind of just like expectations of this is kind of what you can expect. We're going to do this. This is the foundation of all the decisions that we're going to make. And part of it is like trusting that we're doing that. And that's when we do like all of the culture work and the connection work builds that trust and sustains that trust. And so that those two things kind of are in tandem, I would say, from the playing time and like culture
Well,
slash trust
I think the
perspective.
other thing it does is it arms them with some language to also help their parents understand it who aren't in the room with you for those
Right.
conversations. And you know, if we can't be clear and speak in, you know, portable language terms, it's hard for them to take that language home if they don't have a true understanding. And again, it doesn't mean they won't be disappointed. It doesn't mean they're going to like everything. It doesn't feel fun to not get to play in a particular game. But at the end of the day, as a coach, our obligation is to do the thing that puts our team in a position to win, not just that day, but in long term. So sometimes you're going to use playing time for developmental reasons and things like that. But at the end of the day, it's not even also, I would say, and I think we said it that day in the room, and I know we talked about it last year in the culture part of the more extended camp that we had. You're an alchemist as a coach. It's a chemistry experiment. So it might be on a given day, kind of going back to your position example, it might not even be like I'm the best player overall. It's just for that particular day, the alchemy of it, the chemistry of it just is working. And so it and that's really hard for parents to understand. That I mean, I think players genuinely get it usually because they can feel the team, they're in it. But I think from the sidelines, it's really hard sometimes for parents to understand. Like, I know that they just go to the hard facts, they go to the stats, they go to the whatever, and you're feeling the chemistry, the alchemy of the group in that particular. So you said it's like the right player at the right time. It's not always the very best player. As coaches, we have to make those judgment calls, and sometimes we can't back it up with stats. Sometimes we can't explain why this person, because this person might just be making this person worse on a given day for whatever reason. And it's not personal. It's just we're trying to win. So
Mhm.
that's so. Did you notice a difference? And I don't, you don't have to answer this because it has to do with parent. Did you notice a difference in your parent interactions with playing time after that?
No, before we had
That's what I mean.
before before we had the culture camp, we there was, I would say, more issues.
That's what I mean. Yeah,
After, I would say there was less. They still existed, but I think, like you said, I think the language that they can take home is different. And I think one of the things that we really tried to do I would say post tree, was understand that like the value that you get from being on the team is up here and the playing time is down here. And so you are getting so much from being part of this team, part of this program, part of this community and this thing that you get to experience. And if you're only in it for the playing time, if you're only in it for those kinds of things, it's going to be kind of an empty experience.
that's so.
And
Oh, that is so good. Truly, that's a great way to say it.
oh, thank you. Wow. Getting that from you is like, wow. Okay. Um, but yeah, I just think that's kind of how we've tried to kind of create like the hierarchy of needs. Like being part of the team is here.
Yep.
And the playing time and the accolades and the reward, like those kinds of things are a little bit more down here. And we try to emphasize the value of being part of something and the value that everybody brings to the table, regardless of their playing time. And I spend a lot of time now, I would say, talking about we get better in our practice gym. We spend the overwhelming majority of our time in our practice gym when no one is watching, when nobody cares, when nobody, like, there's no external validation. It's just us in our practice gym, just us together, just these 12 kids and two coaches, our team specifically, obviously. And that's where the value is in that time. Yes, there's wins, yes, there's losses, yes, we're trying to win when the lights are bright and when the scoreboard is on. But the value driver is overwhelmingly in our practice gym.
So good. It's so good.
So, yeah, it's a hard concept, I think, for them to grasp at times of, like,
Because we have instant, not they, we
we
all
have
have instant
Instagram.
gratification, right? Well, not just Instagram, like we have, if we want to know something, we can just Google it, right? We don't have to want for anything. We don't have wonder. We don't have awe as much, right? Baked into our daily lives. We have the ability to find out whatever we want to, and so do they. And so I think the thing that I want to say to, as I hear you saying that, is the value, just to put on another reward on top of all the value that they're getting out of really constantly being reminded and living by that, what you just explored. I think that's another gift. I mean, certainly you get teammate skills, you get all these other things, emotional agility reps, all these things, conflict reps, but you are giving the gift of them understanding that there is a leg indicator on some of the most magical parts of being human. And I think that's amazing. And that's the battle. Like what you're doing is, like, I even love how you said it. You're kind of diminishing the value of the accolades and the wins and losses. Like, not that they're not valuable, not that it doesn't feel rewarding to get to play, but
Mhm.
the greatest value is here, and you're not going to feel it for 10 years fully. That's amazing. Like
Yeah.
that's everything.
I think that too is, like, even a hard part for me as a coach is knowing that those kinds of conversations and those kinds of, like, lessons and life experiences are going to be impactful to them so far down the line. As someone who also is victim of instant gratification, I'm like,
Same.
I just want them to understand now, it's gonna be so great, they're gonna love it, they're gonna but it's like, no.
Yep.
No, it's going to be okay, but, like, making them better human beings, better contributors to the world, better people down the line is, like, my reminder of to push off that instant gratification is it's a long game. It's a very long game, and even when we did I don't know if you'll remember this. We did you and me did, like, a 30-minute phone call before we did
Yep.
the one day, before even the year before, I think. It was, like, a full year before that in the spring,
I vaguely
and
remember this.
I was like, "Tree is gonna fix me. Yay." And I remember when we hung up, I was like, "What the heck? Like, I'm not fixed. What is going on?" And
This is amazing.
I was like, "That's not the point. You were never going to fix me in one day, and you never should have. It
Yep.
is a constant journey, and it was an opportunity for me to learn and grow instead of just being like, I'm fixed.
Yeah.
And I don't think if we ever had that conversation, if I would have made so many different changes and changed so much as a person and a coach, but like I truly was like, I don't have my problem solved for me. What is going on? And
What did
it
I
took
do?
me,
Did I just push back at you? Like, what happened?
yes, yes. And I
That's
was like, I'm
amazing.
having these problems. These people don't like me. And you were like, why? And I was like, I don't know. I'm great. And you were like, "But why don't they like" and just like last year when we were doing the camp, and I was talking about how I was so sad about summer and why nobody was coming to stuff in the summer, and you were like,
Oh, this I
"Why
remember.
don't they
Yes.
do that? Why don't they wanna be there?" And I was like, "But I don't think I ever would have got there without the, like, why?" And it made me so much more I don't not self-critical, but self-analytical maybe of why? You do have to be curious as to why it's not just, like, happening for no reason.
Yeah.
Things
I
don't just happen.
I'm so glad you said this. I did not expect this, but I will say this. I think and I want to be respectful of your time. I think you have to go at 11. Um, but I think this is such a good point. even if it's not our fault, it is our responsibility. So when coaches are like, kids these days and blah, 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 and I'm like, cool. And it's not your fault. But if you want them to cut, it's your responsibility to figure out what you're doing to make them not want to be there. Like, it's not your
Mhm.
fault. I'm not blaming anybody. I love coaches, but like, yo, are you boring? So figure your shit out. Like, you know what I mean? Like, just to let's be real. Like, why? Yeah, like that's it. That's a huge change.
It prompted me to have one of the best and most important conversations that I have ever had as a coach. Like we you and I had a conversation about summer and why it was the way it was and why I was so frustrated and you were like, why have you ever asked?" And I was like, "Don't. No, I haven't." And so we sat down for lunch
Yep.
with
As a
it
team.
was
Yep.
me and my assistant coach and our I think it was just our varsity group.
I agree. Yep. It was.
Yeah. And we had a really phenomenal conversation. I think I did cry, not surprising. But I was like, "Okay, here's our perspective. We have this many weeks in the summer. These 3 weeks have conflicts. These 3 weeks have other things. Duh, duh, duh. We're trying to fit in this camp, this camp, this camp. We have this much space." And they were like, "Wow, we didn't even know that." And I was like, "Your turn. Tell me what you think. Like, what's your conflicts? What's your schedule?" And they were like, "We are not just sitting on our butts doing nothing." And then they just kind of started explaining, and I was like, "Wow, imagine if I would have asked this so much sooner, I would have been less grumpy." It's crazy. But I think coming back to the conversation about the playing time and, how to have those conversations, having a common understanding is so important in everything. And having those conversations while they are uncomfortable and they're not conversations I can say I have ever experienced as a player. Like when I was playing sports, I never experienced those conversations with
This
any
was
of my
not
coaches
modeled for
ever.
us. This was not
It
modeled.
is so, and I think that's why I was also kind of hesitant to do it, why I was guarded was because I was like, I never had that example. I never had that to be like, "Oh, yeah, that's something that gets done. That's something that is helpful. That's something that's productive." The coaches make the decisions and they communicate them to the other people, and that's that. And that was all my experience was. And now, working with you and having these conversations and kind of being pushed outside of your comfort zone and pushed outside of the realm of like, well, this is how it's always been done. This is the way things are. This is the only way they can be. There's this like whole nother like possibility of what working in educational athletics can be and working with young people can be because they are the future. So it's kind of our, like you said, it's our responsibility to do the best we can with them. So even when it's uncomfortable, even
It's like
when I'm
emotional.
crying, it's fine.
Yeah, even when, yeah. And I think there's probably two schools of thought on this. Some people are hearing this and they're like, I'm not going to ask my players. And I'm saying, you do you, but transfer, like, especially like they're at the college level, like you can just transfer and they are. So like you can say, I'm not going to open myself up and get their input. You can do that. It just isn't going to work in this day and age as it used to. And then there are other people who are saying, duh, of course, a common understanding will help. Yeah, it's a simple concept. But as you're so well, like you're articulating well, it's simple, but it's not freaking easy. That's for dang
So,
sure.
mm-mm. But I will say, and like I said, I also want to respect your time, but I was at a basketball game. This is after our season is done. And a couple of my graduating seniors came to talk to me and we're talking. And I can't remember how it even got brought up, but one of them was like, "Yeah, I remember when you asked me that question, I was like, oh, she actually cares what I think."
Hmm.
And I was like, exactly. Yay! It works.
It's a
It's
win.
magical.
It's
I
a
was,
win.
and it's such a simple thing to say, like, "Oh yeah, she cares what I think." But it was so important
Mhm.
as like a, oh, they do understand what we're trying to do. It was
Everybody
amazing.
wants to be seen. Everybody wants to be seen in this world. And I think it really does boil down to that. I'm so glad you had that. You got to those are little validate. You're not going to sit in the shade of the trees you're planting necessarily, but you can get those little nuggets along the way. Kind of helps.
Mhm.
So I love it. Listen, thank you. This was amazing. But like exceeded my expectations. I will. So I'm gonna do this and then I'll edit. But so I just wanted to say, thank you again for doing this. And
Thank
I'm
you.
gonna see you all in August at some point. We'll figure out when we're gonna do a one day. And for anybody else, if you're interested, I'm sure you wouldn't mind if they reached out to you. Yes.
Not at all. Yeah,
I'm putting you on the spot. I'll make
of
sure
course.
that we'll put this on YouTube and whatever, but I'll make sure that you're linked. So if you want to DM Carly and be like, tell me more about this. Um, she's open and willing. And but thank you. I just get such a joy to work with you.
Oh my gosh, thank you so much for having me. This was so exciting. I love this is like my favorite topic to talk about too. I could have gone on all afternoon.
I know. That's why I was like, we should probably put some parameters around this. We're gonna go forever. Same. I could have stayed in this conversation for a long time, but I really am grateful for you. So thank you.